What's up, Fallen Way? It's Bear, and I'm here today with Apollo, the man from the meme. He he might die, but it would never will. What's up, Apollo?
How's it going, Bear?
I got my voice back. I'm happy to be able to do the interview with you, and maybe Wolf Tier might be the number one warrior in the guild, but this might be the number one interview in the guild so far.
Oh yeah.
That would be cool. But yeah, heck, man. I want to say, I guess I want to start with asking you, how did you come to Fallen Way?
Well, so I started out in Clarity, and we raided with Clarity, which was cool up until this one girl joined again, and she was like the old guild master or something. I don't know what the deal was, but she was kind of like took ownership of the raid, and she had this weird thing where she's like, "We're no one's allowed to watch the fight videos, and we're just gonna go in there blind and." We're just going to die miserably and never progress. And a lot of us weren't about that. We wanted
Right.
to actually kill things and not die horribly all the time. So um, we got wind from Brandon that they were going to make a new guild. They invited us and we joined. So I'm pretty sure we are of the first. Me and Lunette, that is, are of the first members of Baby Seal Club and Club.
So that's OG Baby Seal Clubbing Club. I always
Yep.
saw BSCC around the server while I was going through some similar things with raid leaders not wanting to raid lead properly. And I just I always held the guild in high regard and eventually got to know everyone and came over myself. But so if it was like you and Lunette and y'all were in Clarity, who else was in Clarity with you?
Oh, that's a tough question. I can't recall. That was like 3 years ago.
Was it like was Catbell and Wolf Tier part of Clarity too, or were they like
I don't feel like they were. I feel like most of the original members that came over from Clarity aren't with us now.
what about Cure? Did Cure come from there?
Mm, I still feel like Kira is newer than that, but I could be wrong.
Right on. But heck, so, and when you joined the guild, were you always the tank, or did you do ret before you were a tank?
I've actually only started doing Ret as of this expansion. Last expansion, I only played Prot, and I was primarily tank. I did also have my Havoc Demon Hunter, which was my main for most of Legion. So I was a DPS in a lot of the raids. Once we went to Baby Seal Club and Club, we were in need of a tank. I made a paladin, and I tanked, I think, the last two tiers of raids.
Yeah, you were definitely tanking in Antorus. I remember that, and say that's when I joined myself. But yeah, I was just mentioning to the officers today. I was like, Andromeda, that's not a real character. So, do you still play Andromeda at all? You're a demon hunter?
I roleplay my demon hunter. That's actually probably my favorite character to roleplay, but I haven't actually like played him. I don't do anything on it. I focused all of my efforts onto Apollo to make him as badass as physically possible, so that he'd be a major asset to the raid and be able to progress better.
You definitely are. I gotta say, like this tier, like something in you switched. Like, you had to learn how to play Ret when you came back from your little bit of a leave, and things had happened, and you had to. That was the only position you had left was going back DPS. So through old year, like, and then through BOD, like you were there, you were present, you showed up, and then you blasted off this patch, I gotta say.
Yeah,
So,
this patch, I started getting good. I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna actually be like ridiculously good at this game. And I started simming and I did class research and figured out what gear I needed and just went full ham. And I'm sitting at I think I'm somewhere between number 2 and number 3 rep pally on the server and number I think 12 on the server entirely. I honestly surprised, and that probably won't last long once people get like heart level 65. But I
hey,
just went full ham.
hell
It
yeah,
feels
man.
good.
Yeah, it definitely like I took the 2 weeks to really press into Shadow Priest, and then it just that Benthic lottery got to me, man. I can't play the lottery. I like that it's out there, but I can't play it. Um, so like, do you think everybody's capable of just waking up one day and saying, "Hey, man, I want to get good. I can be good. I can be right up there on the front page of WoW Progress and Raider IO for our server repping Fallen Way." Can everybody just wake up and do that?
Yes, but it requires a pretty significant time commitment. I have quite a few hobbies that I kind of put on the back burner and devoted a lot of time and effort into that. So that's the only thing is like not everyone has the time to spam dungeons and do every single AP world quest every single day and every emissary. Like it's a lot of work.
I feel like you get a little bit of a bonus being on the West Coast.
Definitely, yeah. I
So,
mean, 12 o'clock is still 12 o'clock for me, but once it hits 12 o'clock, like half the people are asleep and I can just farm stuff, so it does make it a little easier.
yep, say me not having a real schedule, like I do tend to be up till 2 or 3 in the morning here Eastern, which would be your midnight. Um, so, but doing those AP world quests every day and making sure you're running the Droptimizer and targeting the gear that's going to be your best benefit. Besides that, like what other tools were you able to utilize to like learn more about your class? Was it
Well,
Go ahead.
um, the class Discord, like, I was really harumph about it, and I just, like, it took me a while. I was using Dropamizer and I was doing all sorts of stuff, but it took me a while to get into the class Discord, and I finally just took the step, did it, started reading through stuff, and actually learned some really valuable information, even simple stuff about rotations, things that I would have never really thought of. The main thing that I think helped me the most is weak auras. It wasn't until this patch that I started using weak auras, and weak auras led me to realize that I have literally been playing my class wrong this entire expansion um, in a
BOB.
couple different ways. And just overall, like that constant reminder of like, hey, keep your inquisition up. It like makes a punching sound every time. It's like the perfect time to replenish it and stuff like that. It really helps keep your DPS up so that you don't have that initial burst and then you just dwindle as the fight goes on because you're not keeping up with your rotation. um, it's also a lot of practice, just doing it over and over again until you get it ingrained.
So did you practice when, on raid nights or like in guild keys, or did you go over to the target dummies and did you practice there?
I practiced in a lot of different ways. Target dummies is what I would use if I was making a major talent change. So, like for example, what I started running the top gear and realized that Inquisition was actually the best for me. It gave me a new button that's honestly kind of annoying to use, and it uses holy power. It's just kind of a complicated change to the way that I've been playing for this entire expansion. So that took me a bit of practice, and I sat at the training dummy for quite some time. I also went on to WoW Progress, and I found the number one rep pally on the server, and it his profile was like, hey, hit me up. So I did, and I talked to him, and he hung out with me at the training dummy for like 45 minutes to an hour, helped me work on my rotation. He helped me understand what gear I needed to be going for. he really helped. He helped me in a serious way, and from there, that's where I just kind of started skyrocketing. Like I hit a plateau, and I think it's actually a she, it's Seraphim from Pact, helped me just get past that plateau and get to the next level.
I can say back in Legion, I remember seeing Seraphim was a part of Catchphrase, I believe, and they ended up coming over Alliance side, and they've been a stalwart #1 rep paladin on the server for like 2 years now. So that's a really great resource to have available. And I have a similar story when I was playing my warlock in Old Ear. I was able to reach out to one of the members of Pact actually. Just we had some mutual friends, and I decided I'm going to talk to them, and got a lot of really useful bits of knowledge from somebody who was experienced. And it sometimes um, like you'll hear it on sportscasters and other professionals. Like your whole life you'll do something you've heard people tell you to do it, but then somebody tells you the right way and you're like, you know what, coach, you're right. I do need to burst, I do need to focus. I Oh, that's how I hold my hands, or however. And you know being willing to go work with somebody who they a lot of players in this game, they really enjoy their class and discussing it, and it doesn't matter if you're great or not. There's a lot of fun interactions that can be had that hopefully will improve you as a player, because the community is a really good community for this game.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with the class Discord is that there are no stupid questions. Like people ask some questions that I totally knew the answer to, and I was like, that's, some people would see that as a stupid question, but everyone was super nice about it. They're like, no, you got to do it like this, and here, just this is what you do, and no one was giving anyone a hard time because there's an understanding that not everyone is a professional at their class. Like people make new classes, new characters all the time, and you got to start somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, and if you don't start, you won't get there either. So, hopefully everybody who's enjoying the interview will take some time after they hear this, spend that like you just opened your chest today, or earlier this week, and you want to figure out, okay, I got this new piece of gear. It's really awesome, but go ahead, check out your class discords and find out how you can make that piece of gear that much better for you. And just refresh on some old stuff, I'd say. Um, and then, go. We've talked about like your history, from going from Clarity to Baby Seal Clubbing Club to Fallen Way now. Um, and the Pantheon has just promoted you to captain. You're going to be one of the two Mythic Plus captains. Is there anything you want to drop out there, say about that?
Yes. So when I initially had the idea to actually get like our WoW Progress core Mythic Plus team together, I realized that there was a part of our guild that was kind of struggling, and that's for everyone that wasn't in that like tippity top tier ready to go plus and 15s. Everyone else is trying to gear up, and we need them in our raids, and we need them as awesome as physically possible. I'm finding people are having such a good time getting 10s, and they're having to pug, and it's hard to pug when you don't have a good IO, and it's hard to get a good IO when you don't have people to run keys with, and it just gets you in this kind of endless loop of failure. I'm gonna make another form. I put out that form for like the core Mythic Plus group, but I'm gonna make one
Right.
for everyone. This form is essentially going to give me a spreadsheet that is going to make it easier for me to manage groups for keys and get people in the right places. Because I understand that there are plenty of our guildies that are definitely not ready for a plus 10, but I'm sure they could handle 7s and 8s, and with the add-on, it's called Astral Keys. It's extremely important for anyone that wants to do keys or is ready to do keys. You need to go to Twitch, download Astral Keys. It'll show pretty much anyone in the guild that is also using astral keys, what keys everyone has. That makes it easier for me to coordinate. So once I get this form up, I'm going to put it in the Mythic Plus channel. I want everyone to apply to it. Anyone that has any interest in doing keys, just apply to it. It'll give me the information I need to help orchestrate more key groups.
So
I'm more than.
is this
Go
form
ahead.
is are you going to be able to get like the best availability for people? So maybe you can
Yes.
kind of group together like a Tuesday, Wednesday crowd, and then maybe a Saturday, Sunday afternoon crowd.
That's exactly the point of it. The main purpose of it is availability. There's also an item level tier. So when people sign up for the spreadsheet, it gives me these really pretty graphs, and I can see how many people are in this item level bracket and how many people are available these days, and it gives me a good idea of what days to plan keys. We have Friday and Sunday raid. Saturday there's a lot of stuff going on with like achievement runs and alt runs and stuff like that. So there are some in between times that I can work stuff into. I'm usually off on the weekends, so weekends are often good for me. And I'm also typically off work after 5 p.m. my time, which is pretty much any time after that is good for me too. I don't
Right on.
necessarily need to be
Right.
part of every key, but I'm more than happy to get them orchestrated.
Right on. So I'm gonna throw this out here in case it wasn't added up earlier. 5 p.m. Apollo's time is gonna be 7 p.m. server time. And it's not just going to be Apollo working on that M plus team. Dalfarius, who is pretty new to the guild, but we expect him to be able to provide a lot of the same and deal with some of the overlap or the missing spots, so to say. So you'll have somebody you're working with to bring this to us, and this isn't just for our champions, our mythic raiders, or even just our heroic raiders. This is for anybody in the guild. So if you are a social member, if you're a role player and you want to start looking at how to play that character in Keystones because you might want to farm out some mounts or some transmog or something, like come talk to us. Anybody in the Pantheon, anybody who's a captain, and especially Apollo, we want to give you the opportunity to improve yourself and enrich the guild. That's why this newsletter is coming out. That's why we're doing Guildie spotlights with Apollo here being the second one. So make sure that we we always want to make sure everybody knows you're not alone when you are here in this guild. And say, has there ever really been a time where you felt super alone or like in the guild Apollo or you've just always been
Well,
a Lunette?
when it comes to keys, sometimes because when I get on and I'm like, hey, I want to do keys, and everyone's like, meh, I don't want to do keys. I've already done like 3 today. So, I was working till 5 my time, which is 7, 8 o'clock other people's time. They've already done all their keys, which is where I end up pugging a lot of keys. Like, not last week, but the week before, I pugged 21 King's Rest keys as a plus 10 or higher. I think my highest was a 13 King's Rest. I pugged 21. And, granted, 21 people in our guild are not going to have a plus 10 King's Rest. So that was the only way to do that. But by the time I was done with that and still didn't get the one item that I needed from that, I was pretty burnt out. And I had to take a solid week off of doing keys, which honestly last week was a phenomenal week to take a week off because that was awful. But for the most part, I usually am able to get a mostly guild group going. Um, but it's really hit or miss, which is what originally encouraged me to actually start getting together key groups, because Mythic Plus is a fundamental part of World of Warcraft and gearing, especially. Like, that is, you can gear a little bit in raid, but you could literally full clear a raid and get one piece of gear, which is not time efficient, definitely. And you're not likely to get 440 gear from heroic, so at least in your mythic cache, you'll get a 440. One of the things that you touched on is, with when you get that gear from your mythic cache, understanding how to use it. The the class discords can help with that. Experience helps with that too. Just understanding how your class works and understanding how the gear works. We've been dealing with the same gear for the entire expansion. They just, pop up the item level. So essentially, it's the same gear. It's just scaled up. Like today, I got a 440 Just Howler's trinket, which for raid I wouldn't touch that, but for Mythic Plus, it is amazing. It is probably one of the best trinkets I could have possibly gotten for Mythic Plus because it splits like 2,000 versatility between exactly 5 party members. So it is ideal for doing Mythic Plus. And once you start understanding what gear is good for what, like I have different gear sets for going into raid. I'll switch up my gear a little bit before I step into raid rather than a Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
Once you start doing keys often, like even if you do them a couple times a week, that's pretty high chances for 430s, which for most people is going to be a solid upgrade. And that's what I want to make happen. We have people that are even at like 410, 415, 420. Any 430 piece is likely to be an upgrade, and you can do Mythic Plus infinitely. You could do 50 in a day if you wanted to. It's not like heroic rating where you can clear it one time a week and that's the end of it. And you didn't get any gear that you needed, and it's like, oh well, okay, better luck next week. And that's where Mythic Plus fills in that gap, and that's why I feel like it's personally one of my favorite things in the game. I love doing keys. They're challenging, they're rewarding, they're exciting. Like I do genuinely enjoy doing keys, no matter how punishing they are most of the time. It's just that happens to be one of my favorite things. So that's why I really want to get other people motivated and involved, even if it's just for gear. If they just get one in a week, it's better than none.
You're right about that. Like, because not only are you going to get the access to the gear, you're going to get the Azerite power, and that'll save you one battle chest worth of one mythic cache worth of Azerite power is going to be a week's worth of Azerite quests out in the world, and the tit res that you can get and put towards the better versions of your Azerite gear. That's always important. Even if you're getting a little bit, it's better than missing it and getting zero. Um, but I'd like to point folks to the previous Herald of the Fallen Way, to our add-on spotlight where we had the simulation craft and we talked about how to sim yourself there. This month's Herald of the Fallen Way in the add-on spotlight is going to be the Astral Keystone add-on that you were mentioning. So we've been using it off and on since Legion, but we're going to be really expecting to see a lot of people using that, and it's going to allow us to organize those keys, make sure everybody's hitting something that they feel like they need to be hitting. And so, as far as Warcraft goes, um, we got you. I think we want to know a little bit more about Apollo instead of just how to play the game. So I gotta ask,
Definitely.
man. Um, from what I've gathered, you own and operate your own business. Is that correct?
Almost. So I don't own the business, but I pretty much do everything. The only thing that I don't do for the business I work for is pay the employees and the rent. I was the regional manager for 3 computer repair shops. Unfortunately, 2 of them weren't doing so hot, so we did close 2 of them down. Now I'm just general manager for 1 of them. I do everything from hiring to ordering to training. I pretty much do everything. So I run the show. And that's we mostly focus on computer and cell phone repair. Personally, I have, oh God, 20 years of computer repair experience. I've been building and repairing computers since I was 10. I'm 30 now. I've pretty much done computer repair for most of my life as far as my adult life for careers. I've worked for every big box retailer and I gotta say I love my job now compared to working for Office Max. I was a manager for Office Max, and that was by far one of the most brutal jobs I've ever had in my life.
I've actually heard about Office Max not being a great place to work at. That and like the Office Depot as well, like similar to Staples.
They're literally the same company. Office Max, Office Depot, same thing now. And
Yep.
Staples, that was actually my first job, and that was literally the worst job I've ever had. Don't work for Staples.
So, definitely. I mean, we've got people of all ages, and like, we're not going to tell you to turn down a job, but we will tell you you might want to look at moving on really quick from some of these places.
Yeah, there. It's a good intermediate. Like, you need a job, they'll probably hire you, and you'll make some money. But like, definitely be looking for another job in the meantime because they do not treat their employees well. They don't give you promotions. They don't give you raises. Like, you might get lucky, but
Right on. And then, so you also live in California, right?
I do. I live in Orange County, California.
So, like, when I know Wolf Tier experienced some of these fires over, what was it, last fall? Did any of that impact you in Lunette there?
No, we're in a relatively safe spot. We're really close to the coast and we're not near a whole lot of the brush. There was actually a fire last year that came pretty close. It was in Trabuco Canyon, and the road that we live near is called Trabuco, and like it was close. It was close enough to make everything smoky and ashy, but there was 0% chance that it was gonna, actually affect us.
Right on. Well, shoot, we do hope you stay safe, just like we got to keep in mind everybody down the eastern shore who's going to be dealing with the hurricanes. Like, say, all over the country, we got Alcade and Los who live in Tornado Alley. So, uh, definitely want to make sure you guys stay safe, and it's good that nothing dramatic has happened. Um, Heck, so I know there's a few other folks who live in California as well. Have you ever met anybody from the guild?
We haven't. I know Kira and her boyfriend live relatively close to us. I know Ari also lives in LA, which is really close to us. We haven't managed to go hang out with them, but we'd like to
Say
in the
maybe
very
if
near
they
future.
China's launching those WoW mobile phones, so maybe when WoW's on the a mobile game, you all can get together and maybe there's some walking component and
I feel like we play WoW enough together. We could probably do something other than WoW if we actually hang out in real life.
very fair, very fair. I know you said you had to have a whole lot of other hobbies. Like Lunette's been great enough to share some of those fire dancing videos from over the summer that you got to take part in. Is there any other like athletic or sporty hobby you have, or
I don't know if I'd call going to the gym a hobby, but I do that a lot. Other than that, it's mostly musical. So I play drums, still learning guitar, keyboard, learning to produce music on Ableton. Those are some of those hobbies that I kind of like put on the back burner for a little bit to get like super good at WoW. Now that I've got my character to a really comfy spot, I feel like I can take a tiny step back and get back into some of my normal hobbies. I've had a wide variety of hobbies over the years. Have two digital embroidery machines. Those were really fun. Used to make like really nerdy patches for a while.
okay,
Um,
cool.
they were mostly like 90% of them were Pokemon. I just couldn't help it.
Oh shit, that's awesome. I got the Pokemon channel.
Oh yeah,
And this video will be uploaded to my channel where I do have all those Pokemon openings. So,
yes.
so
I watched a couple of those. They're hilarious.
I gotta find the time to be able to get all that vodka in me again and really do an entertaining video. So, but shit, man, we're going on a half hour here. Is there like Is there any questions that oh, I just remembered a good one that I had for you. We've been trying to guess this since the last issue came out. What do you think Wolf Tear's name is? What's your official
Nick.
guess? You think it's Nick?
Nick. Yes.
Okay. Let's say if it's Nick, you gotta let us know, Wolf. We need to keep the record right. See, we had Carlos as the leading contender, but let's find out.
Carlos. Okay.
Let's find out. So, um, and heck, did you have any any words you wanted to give to the officership, which I mean you're stepping into, pretty much right now. But did you have any tips for us to help improve the guild, or that we've been doing that you're happy you get to be a part of, and you know.
Yeah, I'm honored. I've been with Baby Seal Fallen Way for a good minute. I love this guild. I love the people in it. I never have any reason to be with another guild. Like the way it's run makes a lot of sense, and I don't really ever have a whole lot of argument like
Hmm.
of the decisions that are made when it comes to raid and stuff like that. Like it all mostly makes sense, and it's either way. I am definitely honored to take on a leadership role. I know this tier I like really put in the effort and got myself to a point where I can really take on that leadership role, and I'm excited to do it. I'm really happy to
Yeah.
be able to like be done just grinding like a crazy person, and now that I'm done doing that, I actually have time to focus on everyone else that needs help. Like I just barreled through it, and now I have a bunch of free time, which is awesome. Now I can start setting up key groups and getting people their at least keys, if not their tens for the week. I am happy to carry people. I do like 40 to 50k, so even if you're doing like 15 to 20, it pretty much evens out. So we can easily get through tens, even if you're not quite geared for it. As long as we have a decent tank and a decent healer, we can do it. So I'm happy to at least probably not back to back, but once a day, I can definitely carry people through some tens.
Bring that positivity, and heck, say all your evolution and hard work here. Um, just maybe we can kill some of these memes that have been rolling across the screen as we've been talking.
Okay, we're gonna talk about the B-Res Apollo meme right now. So
Okay.
we're gonna start with where that came from. So we had a raid lead. His name was Short Kyle. That was his character name, but he was Kyle. He was our raid leader, and he was fairly eccentric. But there was one time on the last boss of on Antorus, and I'll be honest. As a paladin, there's a reason that Brandon doesn't take his prop pally into like higher level content. It's because they're squishy as hell. They have mitigation, but once you use your cooldowns, you are just worthless. And so I died pretty often. And I think that Kyle was so used to me dying that he called out like frantically. He's like, "Oh shit, B-Res Apollo, B-Res Apollo," and I was still alive. I was fine. I was totally fine. There was no problem, and everyone just died. It was hilarious. So that is where the B-Res Apollo meme came from. Was for me tanking and Taurus. But see, the funny thing is, it's the exact opposite now. I am almost always the last person alive. When we wipe, I'm like still beating stuff up, just like getting my parse up.
So it should be Apollo Battle Res now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and that's the funny thing. I'm an engineer, so I can technically battle res people now. Not that it's convenient in any way because I have to stand like literally on top of them. But yeah, uh, so that's where that came from, and it's funny that it's become kind of the opposite. Now I'm getting B-resed when I'm actually dead.
Yeah. I think I was there in Antorus for that because that was Izanami, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Hmm. So, heck yeah. It's been a lot of fun, man. It's also getting to be about 1:30 in the morning for me. So, I think this is a good place to wrap it up unless like you want to keep shooting the shit and like we can roll.
I think we pretty much covered it.
Excellent. Heck. So, we'll end it with like, who would you like to see as the Guildie Spotlight next month?
Hmm.
Somebody maybe you want to get to know more about, somebody who you think, or somebody you might think will be entertaining, for this kind of interview format. Um, you know,
I have two,
okay.
Esikays and Dalfurius.
Okay, so the other M plus captain and our new transplant SKs, I can dig it. I bet they would both be really entertaining, and since they are both so new, that might be a great way to introduce them to everybody here in Fallen Way.
That was exactly my thought. Is because they're both new and they're both awesome. So like we should interview them.
Right on. You know, maybe I'll try to squeeze them both into the same issue and do like a three-way interview.
Oh my god.
There you go. I'll look into the possibilities. Say it could be a dark horse that you didn't even mention, and heck, say enjoy this month's issue. And I appreciate you taking the time, Apollo. And we'll
Of
catch
course.
you. We'll catch you next time, Guild. Peace out, y'all.
Laters.